Hi, in this video we will go through the steps that we need to sketch the graph of a function. Consider the function f, which is defined from a to b with the equation y is equal to f of x. Then its graph is actually the geometric representation of the function f. To sketch the graph of the function f, in the first step we select a number of different values from the domain, that is a number of different values from A, and calculate their corresponding y values by inserting those x values in the equation of the function. As a result, what we get is a number of points in two-dimensional space, and we find and locate those points in two-dimensional space. Then depends on whether the function is continuous or not, we connect or we just leave the points as they are. Note that the number of points that we need depends on the type of the function. For example, consider the function y is equal to f of x, which is equal to 3x plus 1. In order to sketch the graph of this function, we know that the domain and range of this function are all real numbers. Hence, this function is continuous. In order to sketch the graph of this function, we select some values from the set of real numbers for x. For example, I have chosen -2, 0, and +3, and find the corresponding y values for each of these three values of x. For example, if x is -2, we insert -2 instead of x here, and we find y. That is 3 times -2 plus 1, which is -6 plus 1, which is -5. Therefore, the first point of the graph is -2 and -5. Likewise, inserting 0 instead of x, we get 3 times 0 plus 1, which is 1. Therefore, the second point is 0 and 1. Lastly, the third point, we insert 3 instead of x, that is 3 times 3 plus 1, which is 10. As a result, the third point is 3 and 10. Next, we find the location of these points in two-dimensional space, and we know that -2 and -5 is here, 0 and 1 is here, and the last point, which is 3 and 10, it's here. Since the function is continuous, we connect points. As a result, we get the graph of y is equal to 3x plus 1. Remember that this graph is just a sketch of the graph of the function y is equal to 3x plus 1. Further, consider y is equal to g of x equal to x squared and sketch its graph. We will see later that the domain of this function is all real numbers. Therefore, this function is also continuous. Similar to the first example, we choose some values for x and find the corresponding y values. If x is -2, y is 4. If x is -1, y is 1. If x is 0, y is 0. If x is 1, y is 1. If x is 2, y is 4. As a result, we find 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 points of the graph. Let's find the location of those points on the two-dimensional space. This is the first point, -2 and 4. This is 2 and 4. This is 0 and 0. This point is -1 and 1. This point is 1 and 1. Now we connect the points. As a result, we get a sketch of the graph of the y is equal to g of x is equal to x squared. Further, consider the function y is equal to p of x, which is x to the power 3. Later on, we will see that the domain of this function is all real numbers. Therefore, this function is continuous. Like the first two examples, we choose some values for x and we find y. For -2, y is -8. For -1, y is -1. For 0, y is 0. For 1, y is 1. For 2, y is 8. As a result, we get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 points. Remember that we can choose more values for x and find more points, but in order to sketch the graph of this function, these 5 points are enough. Putting all those 5 points in the xy coordinates, we see that first point here, second point is there, 0 and 0 is here, 1 and 1 is here, and 2 and 8 is there. And then we connect the points. As a result, we get a sketch of the graph of y is equal to p of x is equal to x to the power 3.